Hey everybody, so we are just about 3 weeks into the 2019-2020 NHL season, and I want to take a look at some star players, some big name players who are off to really slow starts this year. Now before we get into the video, I just quickly want to remind everyone to please hit that like button and give this video a thumbs up. That greatly helps out the channel more than you probably ever could realize. And if you're new to the channel or not yet subscribed for any reason, please hit that subscribe button down below. That greatly helps out as we are pushing our way towards 1,000 subscribers here at Off the Wall Hockey. So I didn't put these in any particular order. They're just 15 star players who are off to pretty slow starts. Actually, they'll be in alphabetical order by team because I just went through each team's stat page. So it's not ranked as far as, who's having the worst season or anything like that. So let's get right into it, starting with Ryan Getzlaf of the Anaheim Ducks. Now, Ryan Getzlaf is definitely getting older. He's on the back end of his career now, but he's still a star player. He's still an important player for the Anaheim Ducks. And so far through 9 games, he only has 2 goals, 2 assists, and 4 points. Less than half a point per game for Getzlaf, and that is not a great start. Anaheim as a team actually isn't off to that bad of a start. They're playing better than I thought they were going to. But for them to be a playoff team, for them to contend for a playoff spot, Getzlaf needs to pick up his production and needs to get a little bit better as far as producing offensively because he's an important player for them. So 4 points through 9 games isn't great for Ryan Getzlaf, although he is certainly on the backside of his career, and you could expect some decline in his play. Next up, Charlie McAvoy, defenseman for the Boston Bruins. McAvoy is regarded as one of the best young defensemen in the NHL. He just got a bridge deal from Boston, a 3-year deal, keeping him there. Contract extension. Through the first 8 games for the Bruins, he only has 1 assist for 1 point. No goals yet. 1 point in 8 games is not what you want to see from Charlie McAvoy. Now, he hasn't really found his game offensively at the NHL level yet. I think he had less than 30 points last year. He's not a huge point producer. He's much more focused on being a two-way defenseman and playing well in his own end and kind of being a top-pair shutdown D-man. But with a player who is highly regarded as McAvoy, is thought of as a possible future Norris Trophy guy, you want to see a little bit more offense out of him, and 1 point in 8 games is not a great start. So Boston themselves, as a team, is having a great start. McAvoy's been a little bit slow out of the gate. I expect him to get better as the year goes along. Keeping with defensemen here, Noah Hanifin of the Calgary Flames, still a young guy, but certainly more established than McAvoy, only has 2 goals through the first 10 games, no assists so far for the Flames, and a -5 rating. So he's had a bit of a rough go here to start this season. 2 points in 10 games and -5. Expect a lot better than that from Noah Hanifin, who is a huge young piece of that defense core in Calgary. I think he'll get better as the season goes along, but it's definitely been slow out of the gate for him, and he needs to turn things around. Next up, for the Carolina Hurricanes is Sebastian Aho. Now, I did a video a few days ago on Carolina. They are red hot to start this season. Really good beginning of the year for the Hurricanes, but Sebastian Aho has been largely invisible for Carolina so far this year. 9 games played, only 2 goals and 1 assist for 3 points. And this is not the Sebastian Aho that we saw last year. This is not the Sebastian Aho that I think a lot of people expected to be at least a point per game player this season, if not pushing 90 to 100 points. He's been real slow to start this season. Obviously, it's still early, but I definitely want to see more out of him going forward. Next up, we have Jonathan Toews from the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, Chicago's only played 6 games, which is less than most other teams around who have at least played 8 for the most part. But through those first 6 games, Toews only has 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points. So really slow offensively for Taves. Now that's another player who is aging, who's been around for a while now. He's getting older. You maybe might start to see some decline offensively. But Taves had a really good year last year, and kind of had a bounce back year offensively last year after some real rough seasons. Off to kind of a slow start, only 2 points in the first 6 games, but it's only 6 games. That can definitely get better. But I'd like to see him pick up the point production certainly throughout the season. You got to be better than 2 points in every 6 games if you're a top 6 forward in the NHL. Next for Columbus, we have Cam Atkinson. So obviously a lot has been made out of everything that Columbus lost this offseason, losing Panarin, losing Bobrovsky, losing Matt Duchene. That we knew that this team was going to take a hit offensively. But Cam Atkinson is a guy who had 40 goals last season. He's a guy who now, with those players gone, is largely going to be depended on to be a huge piece of this team's offense. And so far, he has not been that. Through the first 8 games for Columbus, he only has 2 goals and 1 assist for 3 points. So this is a guy that you want to see, pushing 70 to 80 points, and he only has 3 in the first 8 games. It's not been a great start for Cam Atkinson. It's not been a great start for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I think those of us that saw a severe decline coming in Columbus with what they've lost are going to end up being right about that. And I mean, Atkinson's not playing, doesn't have Panarin to play with, doesn't have Duchene to play with. He's not going to put up the same numbers without that talent around him, and we're seeing that so far in Columbus. Next up, we've got a couple of Dallas Stars. Now, the Dallas Stars, obviously, I did a video about their horrible start a few days ago. They're off to an absolutely abysmal start to this season. I think they're 2-7-1 now. A team that was supposed to easily be a playoff team and maybe even compete for the Central Division. Just as bad of a start as you could get. And I honestly could have made, at least 5 of these 15 players Dallas Stars, but I stuck to 2 of them. Jamie Benn is the first one, who only has 4 points through the first 10 games, 1 goal and 3 assists. Not a good start for Benn, who's the captain of the team, supposed to be the leader of the team, and a huge part of that top line that really makes this team go with Sagan, Benn, and Radulov. Radulov's another guy who I could have put on this list. He also only has 4 points. But Benn, because he's the captain, because he's been, kind of the bigger name in Dallas, I'm putting more of the onus on him to be better. And he only has 4 points as well. And it's not been a great start for Jamie Benn. And the other Dallas Star player I wanted to talk about was Joe Pavelski. Because, yes, he's in his late 30s now, but he's still huge goal-scoring year last year with San Jose. Hasn't really showed any signs of decline despite his age. He's still been a huge point producer until this year. He was the huge offseason signing for Dallas this past offseason. He was supposed to come in and play a top 6 role and be a 30-goal guy. And through the first 10 games with the Stars, Pavelski only has 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points. So it's been a real rough transition from San Jose to Dallas for Joe Pavelski, and he is off to a terrible start offensively. Hopefully he can kind of find his groove. Obviously, changing teams after playing your entire career in San Jose, going to a different team in Dallas is obviously a big move and not an ideal situation, and it's probably going to take some time to adjust. I think we knew that. But this has been a terrible start for Pavelski, and he needs to turn things around quickly, or that's going to be a huge problem for Dallas. Moving on, for the Detroit Red Wings, we have defenseman Mike Green, another guy who, yes, he's getting older, but in the past has been a big-time point producer. And as far as defensemen go in Detroit, he's even up through the last few seasons has been a pretty decent point producer as a defenseman. So far this season, 8 games played for Mike Green, only 1 goal, no assists, so only 1 point to start the year. And he's off to a really, really slow start. Detroit, their top line with Larkin, Mantha, and Bertuzzi have been playing well. Beyond that, it's been a bit of a struggle, and Green has struggled to start this year as well. Moving on, we have a Minnesota Wild player. Now, Minnesota is a team that is struggling for offense from anywhere they can get it. And I am looking at their best offensive player, Zach Parise, to be better. 8 games played for Parise, 3 goals, but no assists, so only the 3 points. You got to be, this is a team that is struggling for offense, that cannot score goals. Yes, Parise's got 3 goals, but those are his only 3 points this season. He's a guy that they need to get up near 60 or more points because he's probably going to lead the team in points this year. He did last year. And a team as offensively challenged as Minnesota is, they need their best players to be their best players. And so far, Parise's only got 3 points through 8 games, and that's just not going to cut it. He's got to get more scoring going than that. New Jersey Devils. New Jersey's been one of the biggest disappointments this entire season, but Wayne Simmonds in particular, only 1 point, which is not even a goal, it's an assist through the first 8 games for the Devils. Really, really disappointing start for Simmonds. Now, obviously, he's a guy that is on the decline. His offensive numbers have been going down the last few years. This was a former 30-goal scorer who now, would be lucky to even get to 20 in a season. You're looking more at probably around 15 for Simmonds at this point in his career. Real physical player, great leader, obviously brings a lot to the table in other aspects of the game than offense. But when New Jersey signed him, they were still looking for some decent goal scoring out of him. They are not getting that to start the season. No goals, only 1 point to start the year. Really, really tough start for the Devils in general. Really tough start for Wayne Simmonds with his new team. I'm as big of a Wayne Simmonds fan as there is. I really love the guy and love the way that he's played. Have a ton of respect for him, and he's been one of my favorite players in the league for the past decade. But there's no doubt that he's certainly starting to go the other way now, and it's been a real slow start for Simmer in New Jersey offensively. And I hope he can turn it around. I hope he can still put a decent 50-ish point season together, but I just don't know if that's going to happen, and it certainly hasn't happened out of the gate. For the New York Islanders, we have Anders Lee. Anders Lee is obviously one of the top offensive players for the Islanders, one of their best players in general. And through 8 games, he only has 2 goals and 1 assist for 3 points. So this is a guy that, you're hoping to get to around 30 goals, 25 to 30 goals, 60-plus points or so. He's not off to that kind of start, to say the least. 3 points in 8 games is not going to cut it. He's on pace. I don't know what that does over an 82-game season, but probably 30-something points, I guess he would be on pace for. He's got to be better than that. And he's a guy that I think is going to pick it up as the season goes along. But slow start for Anders Lee in New York. Now we have a real tough one. He in Philadelphia, James Van Riemsdyk. JVR has no points in the first 6 games for the Philadelphia Flyers. Brutal start for JVR. Now, again, they've only played 6 games, which is less than a lot of other teams. But, man, no points, not even an assist, no goals, nothing. Big fat zeros across the board for JVR, and that's rough when you look at that. He's got to be better. He's a guy that they're expecting at least 25, if not 30 goals out of. He's on a pretty big contract there. And man, he's got to turn it around real quick here. Continuing with pointless players. Now, this one's a little different because he's a defenseman, but Marc-Edouard Vlasic in San Jose. Now, he is more of a defensive defenseman. He's never been a huge point producer, but Marc-Edouard Vlasic, through 8 games for the Sharks, has 0 points. And he's still a top 4 defenseman. You got to expect some form of offense out of him. I know he's more of a defensive guy, but no points through 8 games for Marc-Edouard Vlasic. Oh, and he's -9. brutal plus-minus to start the year for Vlasic. So Sharks, obviously a really disappointing start. Vlasic individually, a very, very disappointing start. No points in -9 through 8 games. That is pretty brutal for a top 4 defenseman. And, he's got to get things turned around. And finally, number 15, our last player on the list is for the Vancouver Canucks, Bo Horvat, just named captain of the team. Really, really good young player that I really like a lot and think is a great guy and a really solid player and a great pick to captain the team. But he's off to kind of a slow start this year. 8 games played, only 2 goals and 1 assist for 3 points. He's a guy that I look to be up in that around 60 to 70 points in a season. If he has a really good year, maybe even touching 80, certainly someone I want 25 to 30 goals out of, if not more. And Horvat's been pretty slow out of the gate this year. Now, again, he's a really good player. I think he gets it going. I think he turns it around, but not a great start to the season for him. Vancouver's been decent as a team, but Horvat really needs to pick it up offensively and start producing a little bit more. So those are 15 star players or kind of big name players that certainly hockey fans would recognize who are off to kind of slow starts this year and really haven't gotten the offense going yet. Obviously, it's still early. We're only a few weeks into the season. They've got plenty of time to turn it around. All it takes is, they get a hat trick one game and all of a sudden their point totals are much, much better. But, so it could be a quick turnaround for some of these guys, but so far it's been pretty slow to start the season for all of them. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.